Hi, Mrs. Miller and Mr. Willis's class. This week you guys are together and you'll be together next week as well. And you know how we normally learn an artist and artistic style. Well, this week's no different. We are going to learn about an artist, but he is also first a botanist. And so let's learn about him right now. Our artist today is Carl Linnaeus. Carl was one of the world's most famous botanists, a scientist who studies plants. He grew up in southern Sweden and was the son of a church pastor. Linnaeus' father kept a large garden filled with plants he enjoyed collecting. As a boy, Linnaeus loved to study the different kinds of plants that grew there. He went on to medical school and became a doctor and a scientist of great fame. Many scientists use art in their work. Botanists who study plants often draw and paint beautiful pictures of flowers, leaves, stems, and roots in fine detail. Linnaeus would sketch the details of the tiny parts of different flowers, and then he would hire artists to illustrate his books and scientific papers. Young artists experience being a botanical illustrator by taking a walk, picking a flower, and then drawing it in careful detail inside and out. And guys, that is what we are going to do today. So whenever I can, I will give you guys a couple of options on how to complete your assignment, seeing as we don't all have the same materials. But the goal will be the same, is to look at nature and to see what God has done and where we can learn about our faith and more about the Lord through what he has created. And so our artist is Carl Linnaeus and our artistic style is naturalist. And so today, my son and I went on a walk and we picked out some things from nature. We picked out some weeds. We picked out some flowers and some bark and some twigs and some grass and all kinds of things. And you'll see that here in a moment, the things that I found. And I want you guys to be able to find similar items outside. So the two ways that you can do this naturalist project, and I'll show you them in order. The first way is to find things in nature, as I did, and to create something. I think the best way is to choose a noun, although you could choose a verb, which is fun. So the noun that I chose was a girl, because as soon as I found those purple flowers, it reminded me of a girl's beautiful skirt. So I created a cheerleader, actually, because I thought that was kind of fun, using the things that I found out in my walk. So after you see that I've done that, you will also see that I sketched them the more traditional way, which is what Carl Linnaeus did, in great detail. And I'm going to zoom through the beginning of that video quickly, just so you can see me lay down the sketches. Remember, we're going to draw light till we know it's right. And then we're going to lay in the color using the basic elements of art that we've learned, like value and line and space, to fill in and to look at that creation that the Lord has made. But as I was working on this project, it reminded me of a Bible passage that I wanted to share with you quickly, because right now, this is such an uncertain time. You're watching me on a video, and there is a lot of anxiety in our world. And the Bible speaks to that, and it speaks to all things. And so I wanted to show you this passage in Matthew 6, where Jesus himself was just speaking to the people about the struggles and the anxieties that they were having. And he uses nature to encourage them. Starting right here in verse 26, it says, "Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet the heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more importance than they? And which of you, being anxious, can add a single hour to his span of life? And why are you anxious about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today, and tomorrow thrown into the oven, which will he not more clothe you, O you of little faith?" And he goes on to encourage us not to be anxious for anything, but to trust him. Okay, so you'll notice when I was sketching that I used basic shapes. At least I hope that you notice. And as I color, I will go over that again. So right now, this is the basket we have at home, and yours may look similar. So I'm just going to do the best I can to match some colors using any medium that I have to the best of your ability. And you might not even have that much. All right, kids, I have set up my colors, my different purples for what I Googled and found out was a type of bell flower. I've got some green and peach for my chickweed, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. I have a couple different kind of greens for my common weed, and then I did the best I can for the browns for my bark. You probably won't have exactly the color that you need to match unless you're doing this with watercolor, so just go with it. Do your best that you can. Remember, this artistic style is called naturalist. Okay, and so we are making things that are from nature. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with the chickweed. I think the easiest way to do this one is to show you what we don't color. So I know that there's some green in there, and they are quite wispy, so this is just line. Remember, with a lot of nature, you're just doing shapes and line. So you start pushing hard, but then you kind of just let your line go and see where it pops out. These don't have to be perfect. I've never seen a perfect weed. Don't expect to start seeing them now. You just want them to be wispy, so don't draw too much. Now at the top of these chickweeds seems to be a white flower, but I'm already on white paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a triangle shape, what holds the flower. Do you see my triangle? Just kind of making triangles. I want you to see those. And this is true for any flower that you make. If you want to show the bud part, let's see if I can find this up close here. If you'll notice on these flowers, there's like a little bud that holds the flower. And that's what we're making here. We're just making the triangle. And then once we make the triangle, we can color them all in. I know for some of you guys especially, drawing flowers will not be as much fun, and you might be tempted to ask, can you draw other things in nature, like bugs or frogs or things like that? And my answer to you is, of course you can. Anything in nature, you can draw it. I'd like to see you label it, and I'd like to see some nice detail. These are my roots. They also had some kind of leaves. So I'm gonna use a crayon just to get a different colored green. Most leaves are kind of pointy or wobbly ovals. Just think of the shape oval and make sure it's unperfect, and that will be your leaf. Now you'll notice I have the white flowers, they don't show up as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my peach and I am going to sketch lightly right behind it. And that makes the white flower pop. Now, some of you guys hopefully can hear me in your head, reminding you guys that you're too old to scribble, and so the sketches should all be in one direction, and they shouldn't be every which direction. Just coming out to make those white flowers pop out. This is good for any color light flower, and you can use any color behind it. I chose peach, but it's whatever your favorite color is or whatever you have on hand. This is really pretty in watercolor too. And if you choose watercolor, I hope that you choose to show me some really nice value with it. Okay, so that's my chick flower. Notice that this is not taking very long. Same for the bellflower. Now with the bellflower, and a bellflower is any flower that's in the shape of a bell. Now they can have more exact names, but typically they hang as if they are a bell. So with the bellflower, I chose to use several colors, and I wish I had a fuchsia, but I don't seem to. So I'm going to just go with what I have. And notice that there's a lot of light and dark. So for its bell, remember the triangle? The triangle. I'm just using a darker purple. And then for the petals, I'm going to go from light to dark because the tips seem to be darker. I'm going to outline it. These are just wonky ovals. Crayons do not give you the neatest work. But once again, we'll just work with what we have. And then we can add another color to it. I'm going to try this color pencil and see how it looks. The nice thing about color pencil and crayons together is you can make the color pencil nice and light. You can make the crayon nice and dark, and that adds really nice value. And then I'm going to go back and color in my triangles. Okay, so those are my bellflowers. And then with my common weeds are fun. They are long, wispy ovals. So their lines definitely don't have to be perfect. I'm just putting some behind my bark. This is a great way to practice making your lines show movement. For some of you guys, you can practice making that curvy ribbon look. And once again, because we're new at this and you're going to make a mistake or two, draw light till you know it's right. Because I drew light, I was able to erase some when you guys weren't looking. And now I can use two colors. I chose these because, you guessed it, this is what I have. And so because I outlined with one color, just simply going in and coloring with the other makes it look nice and two-tone. Now you guys also know by now that we always have a light source, especially out in nature. Typically our light source is our sun. So assuming my light source is coming in from this top, I'll want something darker at the bottom. I did find a dark green color pencil, so I might even go down and try to outline here just a little bit to show a little bit more shadow, which will naturally make that top part a little bit lighter. So as it gets lower, I've got more shadow coming through. You could absolutely do this on beetles or flies. You can add a lot of interesting value there, and I would love to see that. You could also do that in just pen. Pen is a great and fascinating way to do bugs. Makes them look really sharp and sometimes a little ornery. So that's about all there is to it. And now I'm just doing light with the crayon. Oops, dog, I got that guy. And then of course pushing harder makes it darker. Softer makes it lighter, right? So we can control our value that way. Okay, is it possible, oh, I left this guy out, to tell where my light source is coming from? I hope you guys can tell. And then last, I'll show you how to do wood. Wood is very tricky and can kind of be frustrating. And usually it's most frustrating when we try to make it too perfect. So I only chose 2 browns and a gray. And here, once again, is my piece of wood that I'm trying to create. So what I'm going to do is first lay a color, and then I'm going to add the detail. I think I'm going to lay, well, I think I'll go ahead and lay a brown. It's easiest to do this with crayon, so here we go. All right, next I'm going to go in with my color pencil and just add a little bit of tracing over whatever pencil I did. This adds nice shadow. And I can kind of be wide with that. I don't have to stay just right on the line. See how some places I overline double, but in some I don't. don't even know if I'm going to outline both sides. Let's see. My light source is coming right on top, so my sides can be the same. Just don't love this color, but it is what it is. Going with the gray. I'm going to add in some ridges and some knuckles. And to add those in, you're just making bumpy lines. You just don't want your bumpy lines to be even. You want them to kind of just be wherever you want them to be. And a couple that go sideways and a couple that go up and down. And then I can add a little bit more brown wherever I want to. See how it's dark right there in the middle? I think I'm going to make mine dark in the middle some too. These don't have to be perfect. Once again, the idea of drawing, just taking some time to create something that God makes every day that we often just do not notice, should hopefully strengthen our faith, reminding us that the Lord is in all of these tiny details. He knows where all of these pieces are and how they were created. And each bellflower and each weed, He knows about. How much more does He know about the things that are going on in our lives? He does. This is a beautiful remembrance during this time. Okay, so I still think my bark looks more like a piece of bacon than it does a piece of bark. But for this work, I think that we have done the job. Great job, class. Don't forget to post your pictures in my email or on Instagram or Facebook and let me know how you're doing. Let me know if you get stuck, and I will talk to you next week.